How does my toilet ever get so clean? It's easy. Ducks is on my team. Ducks' curved necks can get under the rim and fight germs right where they live. Wild ducks' fresh discs fight all the day long. It's a total toilet protection. Bye germs, bye worries. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you standing over there. There in the doorway. Why don't you come in? I was just about to make a cup of tea and some eggs and chips. I got a little story to tell you today, my friend. Would you like to hear it? No? Well, that's too bad, isn't it? Well, this isn't the story why you would never buy Toilet Duck. For those of you who are not on the loop, Toilet Duck is a brand of toilet cleaner for those bottled that's shaped like a duck, and it made its way to that their dispense cleaner under the toilet rim. The mascot for Toilet Duck is named Duck. The real name, I have no clue. Now, a lot of people don't know what Duck actually completely real, and he is quite a sneaky little bastard. If you don't know what I'm saying, dear reader, once you buy Toilet Duck, you are unknowingly locked into a contract that dreaded beast of the mascot. If you even dare to buy another brand of toilet cleaner like bleach, for example, with the contract with Duck, it will place you bounty on your head. And I'm not talking about the chocolate bar bounty either. Mr. Duck will also follow you every time you go to your local Tesco's in order to make sure you're only buying Duck toilets just to clean your toilets. Duck believes it or not, actually when he founds the Toilet Duck Company and founded in the early 1980s. One chilling evening at the pub, Toilet Duck and his best friend Lord Omar were having a heated game of checkers. Lord Omar would be betted on Toilet Duck that he could not possibly create his own little band of toilet cleaner, which possibly outrivaled the most powerful cleaners like Mr. Muscle. Oh, just watch me, Omar, Duck said as he left the checkers game unfinished. Who will win the checkers game? Would the world may never know? Well, Duck headed back to the local lake and began to ponder what he could possibly do the world by leading a brand of toilet cleaner. He did try mixing a bunch of different cleaners together in a bowl that ended up failing miserably for unknown reasons. Toilet Duck was all ready to be given up until he met someone who could help him, but with the inspiration to make the original Toilet Duck formula. That person was none other than Coron Dodo. All of those evenings of the readings of Oliver Charles, Bruno Tagia, Funny Pasta Guide is really beginning to play of the matter, aren't they, dear reader? Now these times, Colonel Dodo was not the cool Dodo, but with the horrible hearing that we all know today. No, back in the 1980s, Colonel Dodo was a low-level street sweeper who had brilliant hearing and had a lot of passion for young Dodo. He was also not known for Colonel Dodo back then. He was referred to his real name, Johnny Dodo. No, only joking, dear readers. Dodo always had been a reference to as Colonel Dodo. Why don't you try putting a bit of duck into the duck toilet? Dodo suggested. What do you mean, Colonel? Duck asked, as Colonel Dodo responded with, Come with me, my bucko. Colonel Dodo and the duck made their way towards the nearby lake at the outskirts of Birmingham. While there, the pair saw the paper proper and looked at the duck who was wearing some glasses. He was just chilling in the middle of the lake, minding its own business, paying no attention to Dodo and Duck. Just follow my lead, Colonel Dodo said, as he began creeping towards the cool duck. Dodo grabbed his cool duck and stuffed him into a bag. Colonel Dodo then gave the duck bag a little pear before then making their way back to Duck's lake. But back at the original lake, Dodo and Duck had to hold the cool duck down as to be raided with an axe. The axe made a contact with the cool duck's neck, killing it instantly. Dodo then proceeded to chop the duck up into many tiny pieces before throwing the pieces into the bleach mixture. Then he proceeded to pour the contents of the mixture into a nearby blender and blended the contents. After that, the original mixture of duck toilet was placed into an empty bleach bottle. The pair then headed to Dodo's unknown rundown hut in the east side in order to get their test bleach on Dodo's toilet. The miracle bleach worked as a treat, but Duck needed a name for the magical formula. That was until Dodo, who chooses the name Toilet Duck, and Duck agreed happily. The only problem now was the present of how the pair had got used to the entire formula on Dodo's toilet. They would need to make more toilet duck. So they rented a duck from Farmer Francis and made another round of toilet duck with it. Duck and Dodo then rented another duck from Francis, then another, and they ended up buying the entire duck farm from another Farmer Francis, who had nothing to do to stop them. He needed the money to buy a house entirely made of solid gold. The pair began selling the recipe on the streets, and it became an immediate failure, as nobody was buying it. It was because it was no different than the other countless brands of toilet cleaner. That's when Duck hatched an idea. He came up with the ironic duck-shaped bottle that would help the bleach right under the rim of the toilet lid of the bow. With the new design, toilet duck began selling on the street like hot cakes. Duck's formula became so successful that it ended up buying an old abandoned warehouse and converted it into the first toilet duck manufacturing plant in the world. Dodo, meanwhile, departed from Duck's side, who had become far too busy with his founding Dodo Incorporated. Toilet duck sales were up on the roof, and Duck was able to convert the money into bitcoins, which he ran into the infest of the housing development of the Spanish Valley. However, problems began to arise. You see, Duck didn't have enough toilet duck formula to go around, so he began producing his own duck farm. He even started breeding chickens and geese. Geese are terrible anyway. One time, a goose chased me through the town until I got hit by a car driven by a pipsqueak pioneer. Now, Duck was also facing a competition with the most powerful other toilet cleaner brands, most of them being notable about, of course, Chilitbang. Chilitbang was then run by a local mob boss that was on the TV personally, Barry Scott. Now, at first, Duck didn't mind Barry Scott, even though they could possibly be very good friends. Barry Scott, on the other hand, disliked Duck greatly and dispatched his right-hand man Omar Swears, of course, to get his information on Duck's recipes. Swears began spying on Toilet Duck HQ and eventually made contact with the head Gitchko himself. Swears also offered Duck around 45% of Chilitbang's and profits, just as long as they tell Swears and Barry Scott for the recipes. Duck happily accepted the offer, and Omar was escorted off to the premises by two of Duck's bodyguards. Back at Croydon, Barry Scott was waiting patiently in his mansion for the arrival of Omar Swears, so he poured himself a glass of whiskey before going over to look at the window. He couldn't believe what he saw. Omar Swears was hanging from a helicopter which crashed into the mansion, destroying it instantly. Turns out Duck had contacts to contact the police department, who told him that Omar is a copper and has several years ago. Ratted out to some Barry Scott's partners back in West Wallaby Street. That evening, Barry Scott showed up at Duck Toilet HQ with a large army of mobsters. "Hi, I'm Barry Scott," Barry greeted before leading to a full assault on HQ. However, Duck was able to repel the attack by offering Barry a bunch of better formula for his Chilitbang. But of course, while developing the new formula, Duck showed Barry of how he could clean the pound coins with ease. "You'll love that one, Barry," Duck laughed hysterically, while Barry Scott cried heavily. You must see, back in the old country, Barry Scott was tormented by his grandfather, who used to shove pound cookies into his ears. Spare the change, ha! Barry's grandfather would joke about that before coughing cough drops into a nearby McDonald's brand tissue. So if Barry Scott settled with the new formula, Duck went back to running his own business as normal. That's when even the easily offended Knights of Nottingham not even involved after receiving a tip from a mouse. With a severe nose injury, the Knights have responded to their contract's information and dispatching one of their members, named MT Bar, to investigate Duck's farms. Mount Bar is a chocolate bar who is a good family man but a horrible employee. He often goes out of his way of anger to those in providing support for the Knights. "Oh hey, what's going on in front from side to side?" Mount Sang then walked over to down the road and towards a local hotel where he and Duck agreed to meet up. Now Mount appeared with a swimming pool and began walking towards Duck in slow motion. Mount then sat by Duck on his sun lounger and said, "My friends call me Chocolate," Mount said before sunbathing in the chair next to Duck. 2 hours later, Mount was more than melted than a blazing sun, leaving behind an old pair of sneakers. The world of Mount Barr's death spreaded like a wildfire, and the knights wanted immediately inspirations for his death. However, Duck was able to deflect on the blame of Mount's death and headed over to red and yellow M&Ms, who had been conspiracy of getting rid of Mount. Now, after he stole Red's fiancée in the summer of 97, back in the world that made sense back then, it was when the world wasn't bricks and no one had to pay for the air. Somehow the knights believed in the line. Even though Red had never had a fiancé, Red and Yellow had also never met Mount, and they didn't even know who he was. The knights dispatched mercenaries to take M&M out, and they had not been successful in doing so yet. Now, Duck had also had problems with Tesco, who refused to pay Duck royalties for selling his product. Duck responded to his lynching of his profits by having Tesco raided by General R. Asquith, who was on Duck's payroll for the money. Asquith went on the place. Tesco went under martial law, and he threatened to keep Tesco under martial law until they paid around almost $1 million into Duck's bank account, which they reluctantly did. By the mid-2000s, Duck started getting involved with the world advertising that he had planned on making Toilet Duck worldwide. He advertised on buying Duck with even more money and attention that he could ever hope for of achieving. Now, he was able to create several factories around the world, and even factories as far as from Frisco. Duck eventually became one of the most powerful, respected figures in the world of toilet cleaners. Even Duck's arch enemies, Barry Scott and Mr. Muscle, grew respect for the smelly old duck cleaner. It was Toilet Duck. Sadly, Duck's fame with success came to an unfortunate price. You see, Duck had begun eating Chewits by the package in between the commercial breaks. It was a stress relief tactic taught by Duck and his cameraman Winston Chew, and the old addict of his Chewits. Now, Duck eventually began to play the buying the packages of dozens of local dealers who was using the remains of Big Pete's Christmas tree lot in the base of the operations. Duck became even more reckless, and then he had his ducks killed left and right, but he didn't do that, even wait for the little duckies to grow into adults either. He had the chicks butchered to death, and he had made them into a formula. Duck no longer wanted any more old code, and he just wanted one thing, the one and only thing, money. Well, and that in Chewits. Perhaps Duck could always was a horrible, cruel piece of crap, but it's just so hard to tell. According to my size at the HQ, Duck had become a hard duck to be with. He began suspecting everyone, everything, conspiring against him. He believed all of his employees were snitching the secrets over their rivals. Despite there being no evidence, Snitching Duck would always have his staff killed and replaced with newer ones. Then he would kill that staff too, once he begins to suspect them as well. He could also cut himself off and his family, who were so disgusted by Duck's antics and his formula. Duck also cut ties in with probably the worst by killing his uncle Waldo and his brother Howard. Both find Duck's Howard having to be very successful movie career, and Uncle Waldo, meanwhile, was too stupid to realize what was going on. Perhaps society is to blame. So there you have it, the real formula behind Toilet Duck. The real sadness of the mascot behind it. Duck was once a cool guy, dreamed of looking so groovy and an actor in a movie, but now he's lost his coolness. He had become very wickedly wicked Duck. He'll stop at nothing until the whole world bows down to the almighty Toilet Duck. This is quite depressing. It's depressing to see how you could slip into disastrous consequences. Now that, my friends, is a truly heartbreaking. Ladies and gentlemen, I recommend not bothering to buy Toilet Duck. Once you buy Toilet Duck, Duck will have his eye on you at all times. He'll spy on you with a telescope that made from cod liver. Whenever you go to your local Tesco's, Duck will be on you and you'll tail back to you and fair and back. If you even dare buy another brand of toilet cleaner which is not Toilet Duck, let's just say you'll be worse than hurt. He'll bring you out of his way thinking that if you catch my drift. Now if you excuse me, I've got to go clean my toilet. Have a good ducking clean. And that, my little pretties, is why you should never buy Toilet Duck. I guess you could say a funny pasta written by Matthew Bumford. Now, my final thoughts on this story? I actually have to admit, this one was pretty funny for what it was. So I could definitely say that Toilet Duck was actually one of the most funniest pastas I've ever seen. Now, this I know there's other pastas that beat this one. So, yeah, I've read a bunch of Matthew Bumford stories on my channel, and I haven't done one in like a while, so I decided to go right ahead and, well, do this. So, it's because I haven't, sat there and did this in a while, but I decided, you know what, I will go ahead and narrate this because I haven't narrated this in like a while. So, I actually have to say this story was actually pretty funny for what it was. Now, this story was actually, I could see it was really funny. So, I did have to, take multiple takes because it was just very silly. Like, this was just, oh my goodness, it was very silly. So, I definitely have to say that it was a pretty funny, a pretty funny story. So I definitely have to say it's a pretty funny story for what it was. It was pretty well made too. So I could definitely say that this story was actually really well made in detail. So one thing I could definitely say was that the grammar was really good. The grammar was awesome. I could definitely say that. You did a pretty good job, Matthew Bumford. You really did a great job with these stories. Now, for those of you who are on my channel or like new to my channel and don't know who Matthew Bumford is, Matthew Bumford is a individual who likes to make these funny pastas. He's made a bunch of these in the past and he's still making them as of today. Now, I do plan to read more of his stories. It's just I'm trying to find the time to sit there and read it. So now I decided to read this one because, well, it's been a while since I've read one of Matthew Bumford's stories. And two, Matthew Bumford puts a lot of time and effort into his stories. Now, I met him back in 2019, and he's still writing these really good pastas, so I could definitely say that Matthew Bumford actually did pretty good with these stories. Now, what exactly I liked? Well, I liked it that the fact that it was pretty humorous, like Matthew Bumford putting this story into a lot of humor in it. And this is actually one of the best stories I've seen. I know there's other stories that I find good, but this one, the ones that Matthew Bumford has done, they're really well made in detail. Like, Matthew Bumford writes a pretty good stories on Goshia, and the only reason why I don't go on Goshia very much is only because, well, stories most likely on there are just cliches, and they're just crap nowadays, but with the sole exception of a few people who put their time and effort into these creepypastas, like Matthew Bumford and a few other individuals, I simply sit there and narrate them because Matthew Bumford puts his time and effort into them. And it's a very good thing because, this story was actually really well made in detail. I definitely have to say, Matthew Bumford, you did really awesome with this story. So, if you guys, want to check this story out, it's on Goshia, or feel free to, check out the story if you like. Now, with that being the case, and with that being said, with that being said, this story, I actually liked it. It was a pretty funny story, and it was really well made. So, with that being the case, like I'm gonna say this right now, and like I always continue to say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that is fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepy pastas, or funny pastas, whatever you decide to prefer to call this one. And this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story is a 10 out of 10. Really great story, Matthew Bumford. It was really well made in detail. You did pretty great. This story was awesome. Definitely has a lot of effort into it. And I definitely have to say, you write pretty good stories, and I say keep up with the good work. So, with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think about this story? Did you all like it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions, or Shadow Lioness, whatever you prefer to call me. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell when I upload, so then you guys will not miss an upload. And feel free to leave me your thoughts down in the comment section down below. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.